Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting of the Board of Trustees for San Angelo Independent School District. My name is Max Parker. I'm president of the board. I'd like to thank all my board members being here. We have a full, all our board members are here, so we have a quorum. I'm going to read a script that we read before every meeting that we'll try to follow these guidelines. Again, I'd like to welcome you, all of you who are present, and all of you who are watching a tape of this meeting on our public access channel, Channel 4. We appreciate your interest in our students. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most, if not all, of our items on this agenda have been previously discussed at our earlier pre-agenda board meeting workshop last week. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, with that in mind, we have an item on every one of our meeting agendas that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team an opportunity to do so. I will make certain that we give everyone an opportunity to speak on any item not listed on our agenda. Additionally, prior to taking any votes, I will ask audience members if they would like to make any comments on an agenda item. Anyone wishing to make comments should do their best to limit their comments to 3 to 5 minutes. In compliance with state law, these proceedings are recorded and will become a part of SAISD's permanent legal record. In order that the tape will adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. If anyone speaks on an item that is not on our agenda, please understand that we cannot reply except to thank you for your comments. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's meeting. Thank you for taking time to join us this evening. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of our district. With that said, we have Chris Sweet, the lead pastor of Grace Temple Ministries, here to lead us in our invocation.
Thank you. Will you join me in praying? Father God, we come to you as the one who has all wisdom and all knowledge, and who has a love that exceeds anything we could ever imagine, God, that any capacity we have of love within ourselves. And so, God, we come to you on that knowledge, God, asking for you to impart it to each of us, so that we might, that this board, God, that might be able to make decisions with the knowledge and the wisdom that you've provided, that they might do so with the love for these students and for this community that you would have, God, so that the best interest of the education in this city will be achieved. God, we thank you for the administrators and the teachers and all the support staff. And God, we pray for their health and for their well-being, and especially in the uncertain times we live. I pray that you would give clarity to every decision that needs to be made, so that we can have the best district for the students that live in this city. We thank you for all your blessings, and we ask that they would be multiplied. It's in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sweet. All right, and I'm going to ask to come forward 3 of our 5th graders from Goliad Elementary, Talia Franklin, Taylor May, and Molly Flores, and ask everyone to stand as they're going to lead us in the pledge to the United States flag and also to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Now stand up here. Turn around And parents that want to come up and take photos can come up and do photos now.
Closer, closer, closer.
Yeah, you guys. They got it? Thank you. All right, I'm now going to turn it over to Whitney Wood, who is our Executive Director of Communications, and Molly Turk, who is our Director of Community Relations, to have some recognitions.
Good evening, President Parker and distinguished members of the board. As we reflect on blessings this holiday season, this special group is high on our list. Tonight, we recognize a group that we are so thankful for their support in joining San Angelo ISD in uplifting our students and staff, the San Angelo Schools Foundation. These dedicated foundation members, some of which we have here with us tonight, collaborate with our district and educators to help our students reach their individual hopes and dreams by supporting and inspiring our educators to create and pursue innovation and excellence in the classroom. The San Angelo Schools Foundation was established in 1986 with the goal to support innovative academic opportunities for children of San Angelo ISD. Each year, the foundation focuses efforts on their two major projects, grants to teachers, and scholarships to students. As of last month, the Schools Foundation has now awarded a total of over $723,000 in grants to teachers since the 1980s. I'm so excited to see them get closer and closer to that million mark. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And over $136,000 in scholarships to graduating seniors from Central and Lakeview since May of 2002. This year, every school received a grant, with a total of 64 grants to 98 teachers and 7 all-campus grants. What an incredible impact they have, stemming from the generous spirit of each of these individuals and from their commitment to the betterment of our community. Some special projects made possible by Schools Foundation support in the past that you may recognize include the Central High School Maker Lab, complete with a 3D printer. That is really cool if you haven't seen it. STEM Camp, Osmo Interactive Game Systems for iPads, BAM Books a Month Literacy Initiative, percussion instruments for special needs students, and the ever-popular Gaga Pits. The foundation surprised 2021 Grants to Teachers Award winners last month with special visits to the campuses. I encourage you to visit the San Angelo Schools Foundation Facebook page if you have not had a chance, and you can see some special photos and the excitement of those educators when they were awarded the grants or notified that they would be awarded. We cannot wait to see what innovative projects our educators and teams put the grant funds toward to help our students collaborate, create, think critically, and communicate. At San Angelo ISD, we say and wholeheartedly believe that our people make the difference, but without the support of our community and the difference makers, like the Schools Foundation board members, that would not be possible. And for that, we thank you. At this time, Dr. Detloff and board members, please join me in recognizing our San Angelo School Foundation after I call out each of the board members' names. Board members, I will call out your name, and if you are with us, please come forward for a certificate and group photo. So we have President Liz Albert, and we'll hold applause for the end. Jennifer Biggs, Rochelle Boyd, Treasurer Olivia Carrasco, Elizabeth Chambers, Davy David, Treasurer-elect Amy Dugan, Sarah Duncan, Stacy Elkins, Fundraiser Co-Chair Jackie Evett, Javier Flores, Carolee Galban, Marissa Gisecki, Fundraiser Co-Chair Crispin Graves, Secretary Lauren Harper, Colleen Hartzell, Mackenzie Hollick, Courtney Mahaffey, Tess Matthews, Courtney Nagel, Renee Orr, Corey Stewart, who is also one of our nurses, Terry Thomason, President-elect Robin Traynor, and last but not least, and she couldn't make it here tonight because she's supporting one of her own children that is one of our students, Executive Director Christine Coles. So if y'all could please join me in a round of applause to thank this special group. And we're going to take a group photo. And then after we do the group photo, we'll have y'all go around so that each of the board members can fist bump you or give you a handshake. Okay. And then if... Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. You just so many wonderful folks in this group that and we'll have to get them theirs too. But if y'all can come around this way, we'll start with Mr. Wes Underwood and the rest of the team. Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all. I know it's hard this time of year. Crispin? Oh, behind. That is. I was like. And we're going to do our recognition for Whataburger in January, so I'm going to pass it over to our Executive Director of Athletics, Rodney Chant.
Thank you, Whitney. Mr. Parker, Dr. Deathloff, Board of Trustees, it's my honor to bring up Coach Kevin Crane of the Central Bobcats to introduce the Central football team. Coach Crane.
Come on in, guys. First of all, thank you, everybody, for having us tonight. And we're honored to be here. And thank you for everything you do for our students and SA ISD students. We certainly appreciate it. Yeah, y'all come on up. Got the majority of our guys here tonight. Not everybody could be here. We got some involved in basketball, some playing soccer. Got a few working, so we kind of got a skeleton crew, but it's still several of our guys here. If you have to, you can just kind of make another row. Squeeze in there. So this was the 2021 Central Bobcat football team. Our overall record this year was 4-7, fourth place in District 2-6A, and a qualifier for the state playoffs. We were the by-district finalists. We played El Paso, Eastwood in the first round of the playoffs. Like I said, we had a 4-7 record. We had 42 seniors on our football team, which was quite a few. Seniors who certainly did a great job throughout their career, and was a tight-knit group this year, and we certainly appreciate what they have done over the years for our program. We had 24 juniors and 2 sophomores up on the varsity. A couple recognitions. Our all-district football team selection this year. We had a couple of second-team nominees, which was Darius Floyd at fullback, Jacob English as a receiver, Ty Casey as a safety. And then we had several honorable mention players as well: Jacoby Yates, Caden Box, Tyler Hill, Caden Hammeister, Kente Nichols, Bryson McNutt, Sam Navarrete, Ed Best, Kobe Moore, Andres Sanchez, Kevon Rice, and Eric Rodriguez. That was part of the District 2-6A all-district team. And then we had several academic all-state members as well. McKenna Hauser, who was one of our managers, was first team. Joe Gonzalez, first team, and Caleb Russell, first team. Brock Miller, Callan Speed, Caden Hammeister, Trevor Scott, Trace Roberts, Bryson McNutt, Caden Box, Gabriel Bailly, Pierce Elkins, and Anthony Lizio were academic all-state honorable mention. So we were certainly proud of this group of young men. They, played extremely hard all year and qualified for the playoffs, which we were proud to do that for the 12th consecutive year. And, we're looking for our seniors to go off and do great things, and looking forward to our underclassmen performing well next year as Bobcats. So, Board of Trustees and Dr. Detloff, thank you for all you do for our students, and thank you for allowing us to be here tonight.
Coach Crane, would you introduce your assistants that are here?
Yes, sir. We have Logan O'Brien, Coach Logan O'Brien, a former Bobcat, who is our offensive coordinator. Josh Willis, who is our defensive coordinator. Regan Krim is our offensive line coach. We got Jake Myers, our running back coach. Braden Price, our safeties coach, and Romario Napolis, another former Bobcat, who is our defensive end coach. And certainly appreciate those guys as well.
Coach, if you'll get them started, have them all come around so we can shake their hand, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir, you got it. Start right here.
It was like the beginning of the third quarter when it was a fake punt. And whenever I landed on it, it was just, I'm already like in the mindset because I was already hurt once, so I already knew like another coach and help. So. Huh? No, January 6th. They got me back, yeah.
Mr. Chant, as they're leaving, it's my understanding we'll have Lakeview football team will be here next month. Recognize them. All right, well, thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we need to approve our minutes of November 8, 2021, our pre-agenda meeting, and November 15, 2021, our regular board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second. Mr. Gallegos has made a motion to approve, seconded by Mr. Dindle. Is there any other board discussion on this? Is there any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Now, this is the time when I mentioned in my earlier comments that anyone that wanted to come forward to make public comments on topics that are not on our agenda. We've had one person signed up. If I say this right, Rita Pepe, is that correct? Ms. Pepe, if you would come forward.
Well, good evening, President Parker and distinguished members of the board. And you're probably not aware of it, as I wasn't until recently, that there's a book in the junior high and the high school libraries that is obscenely degrading and anti-Semitic. The name of the book is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and I have some printed excerpts from the book and other things, and I'll get to that in a minute. The book it's a fictional novel. It's written by Jesse Andrews, and it's about a 17-year-old Jewish boy in high school and his friend Earl, and then a Jewish girl who is the dying girl from the synagogue that he attends. His mother has him befriend her. And I have a review also of this book written by Dr. Sandra Alfonsi, who is the Senior Academic Fellow of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. And there's copies of her review that I've printed in to give to all of you. And then I also have some excerpts from the book that displays some of the obscenities and the anti-Semitism contained in the book. And there are more than just these that I did print up. Not printed, well, yes, I made copies. I didn't print them from the book because there's a copyright, but they were given to me by the lady who did the review on the book. In June of this year, the state of Texas established the Texas Holocaust, Genocide, and Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission by passing House Bill 3257. And one of the purposes of this bill is to bolster the efforts to eradicate anti-Semitism in the Lone Star State. And while signing this bill, Governor Abbott stated, and I quote, "Anti-Semitism has no place in Texas, and we have a duty to combat it whenever and however it arises." The reason that I'm here talking about this book is because when parents send their children to school, they expect that the curriculum and books at the school are books of value and that help to teach their children reading, writing, arithmetic, science, history, art, geography, maybe even home economics or photography. I don't know if they do home economics anymore in schools. I know I did. This book is not one of those books. I do believe in open discussion and literature that express differing opinions and ideas, but it should be done respectfully. And this book does not belong in the school libraries. And it's also available in the public library from kids 12 ages on up. That's where I got this copy of the book that I have. I realize that there's probably a lot more books than this one that have inappropriate language and sexual content in the school libraries. And I know that it's probably very hard to find all of them. But I tried to look up the policy online on how they select the books, but I couldn't find anything. It kept taking me to the public library and their policy. I feel that it is the job of the person or persons that decide which books are put in the school library to screen them more carefully. And if they need help, I'd be willing to help them with it and volunteer for that. It can seem overwhelming to fight against all of the things in this world that are not right. We can't fight against all of them, but one person can't do it all, but one person can do something to help. Another reason why I'm here is because I answer to God, not man. And in Genesis 12, verses 3 and 4, it says, "I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." God is speaking about Israel. The Jewish state of Israel has contributed many great things to this world, and anti-Semitism is no way to thank them for their contribution to society. There's another verse in the Bible that I would like to share. This relates to children. The verse is found in Mark chapter 9, verse 42. And Jesus had a little child on his lap at this time, and he said, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea." By having books that are discriminatory about a person of any race, and sexually inappropriate, the child may think that it is okay to talk this way or act this way. These are topics that should be talked about and taught by parents, not by books or curriculum in the schools. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Ms. Pepe, and thank you for coming forward. Thank you. All right. Dr. McFarland, do you have any student enrollment report?
Parker, Dr. Detloff, members of the board, our student enrollment report for tonight is for the 14th Monday of the school, which was Monday, November the 29th. And on that date, we had 6,372 elementary students, 3,188 middle school students, and 4,195 high school students, for a total of 13,815 students enrolled on the 14th Monday of school. In comparison to that same timeline for last year on the 14th Monday of school in last school year, that is down 188 from that total. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. McFarland. Dr. Ritter, update on academic progress.
Thank you, Mr. Parker, Dr. Detloff, and members of the board. You'll see at your places, I have a hard copy of tonight's presentation, the academic report for the SAISD school board meeting. For tonight, I'm going to make sure that this is working just great. Awesome. For tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you reflecting and looking back on the resources and the interventions, the programs that we are providing for our campuses at both the elementary and secondary levels. All of these resources are things that over the past, probably 5 years or so, we have implemented into our schools, increasing the opportunities for us to have aligned resources that are closely aligned to providing those standards and the support of our standards. As we know, with COVID, and as we've had lots of challenges with getting our kids back in school, once they're in school, really assessing where they are academically, and then responding to those needs appropriately for individual students, as well as groups of students and populations of students that need to have attention. We're learning more and more every day about some of the learning loss that we are facing from having some years of challenge with education in general and across our entire state and the nation. We know that this is the case. So just a review of these resources, because in the future months, you're going to be having some reports from principals in our district. We're excited about that they're going to be coming forward and sharing with you some information about their schools. And we wanted you to be armed with just some ideas and to think forward about some of the things that they're using on their campuses to assess where their students are, to determine the needs of their students, and then to respond to the needs of their students with appropriate interventions. And not just interventions, but also our universal instruction and the resources that you have so graciously supported over the years prior to COVID. And we are so glad that we had so many of those things in place prior to COVID, because we've been able to come back and really hit it hard and get our kids, getting them back on track. And so with that said, I'm going to go through and share some of these with you. So first of all, our district resources that are across all of the areas, and these are supplemental again. Our TEACS resource system, which we call TRS, is our digital curriculum framework, an online instructional resource. It provides those resources for universal instruction. We use that for instruction pre-K through 12th grade for all content areas, and it provides an excellent framework, scope and sequence, and excellent curriculum resources for all of our students. Then you're familiar with our MAP testing, our measure of academic progress, which we refer to as MAP. in reading, math, and science. These are assessments to measure the academic progress as well as student achievement and growth trends. Schoology is our learning management platform, which provides digital access to lessons and resources to all of our students at all levels across the district and to our teachers who use this as a resource. And good information about that, we were concerned that maybe our Schoology use was going down since virtual learning, and we actually heard from the folks that we work with at Schoology, and they said, you actually have amazing numbers and the usage is high in your district. That was very encouraging to hear, and we continue to support our teachers with that and to align our resources and provide more opportunities for our students and teachers through Schoology. And then our Student Success Platform, which is housed in Panorama. It actually houses individual student, academic, and social emotional learning plans, along with specific progress monitoring data. This is something that we had in place prior to COVID, but since COVID, we have worked closely with the people at Panorama to develop an amazing platform that's responsive to the needs of students, and that's where we house all of our individual student plans for the students with their data that is represented there. It's an easy place for principals, teachers, all of us to go, see the needs of our kids, how they are doing with assessment, and then that's where we track their interventions and their progress as we move forward through the year. Continuing on the next, let me continue on the next page. A few more district resources here. We have also engaged with Emergent Tree, which is a consultant group that we have coming into the district to provide training for campuses in data-driven behavior instruction to maximize consistency, expectations, and to maximize teaching for our students and for our teachers to be able to teach. We're seeing a lot of behaviors that have emerged since coming back from COVID, some that I'll just say higher levels of behaviors that we know that we need to pay attention to, and this is helping us with that consistency across the board to help our teachers, our counselors, our principals, our APs know what to do to provide consistency for our students and to actually help teach appropriate behavior to our students that we can teach the academics. And it's working. We're having some great success there. And you're familiar with Capturing Kids' Hearts, which through the Flippin' group, strengthening student connectedness to teachers and peers while establishing positive behavior expectations and systems of support. And we have several students, at campuses in our district that are acknowledged and recognized for being just doing such a great job with this. And they come and they'll actually do walks on those campuses to help us know how we're doing an implementation of the strategies. And we're seeing great success with that and implementation of things like our social contracts and other ways to help our students to be involved in building those relationships and helping our teachers know how to build relationships with their students as well. So moving specifically to secondary, our resources and interventions here. Again, nothing really new, but expanding what we're doing here. Math Solutions, we continue with Math Solutions training and involvement to provide best practice training for our teachers, and they're doing in-class professional learning to help our teachers to model for them great instructional strategies and supports in math. Scholastic, we continue working with reading and social studies teachers to embed strong literacy skills across content areas in middle school, and we've moved Scholastic into high school as well, into our English 1 classes. Achieve 3000 is a program for digital instruction and intervention, really focused on literacy, and we actually use this for our Reading 1 classes in high school when we have students who have not been successful on STAR and on their EOC testing. They follow a curriculum through Achieve 3000, which is research proven to help our students make incredible gains, and we also have embedded that into our middle schools in response to what we're seeing with reading, and continuing that middle school and high school, and also with interventions. Edgenuity is our intervention program for reading and math. Also provides support in all content areas in our middle schools and high schools. So as you know, we did our virtual platform through Edgenuity. We now no longer do the virtual platform through Edgenuity. We're continuing with them what we were doing with Edgenuity prior to COVID. Some additional secondary resources and interventions. Our iPad initiative, where we have currently all of our high school students have their iPads. We are providing campus training on Apple Classroom and best practice of digital integration. And our middle school students will be receiving their iPads in January. All of our secondary teachers do have their iPads and they are learning. We have Apple coaches on our campuses supporting all secondary teachers with the design of instruction and classroom support. And it's really fun to go and watch this because it's exciting to see the Apple coaches in the classrooms sharing with the teachers. Just share with me what you have planned and I'm going to help you flip it into Apple Classroom. And it's really amazing. And the students are taking off with this as well. So we're encouraged to see this digital integration and to see the needle really moving with our instruction with our iPads. Zello is our career and technical education program of study and alignment of our course guide through our course selection process. And Zello is also a program that is going to allow us to assess an interest inventory type thing for students to determine the most aligned program of study for them. We've increased our program of study options for our students in San Angelo ISD, and with that, we're increasing the success of our career and technical education programs, and there's federal funding and certification that is aligned with that as well. We'll switch to elementary. Our elementary resources and interventions. This year, we have a new assessment screener. This is our universal screener for reading and math in K through 2. We used to use iStation, and that's no longer an approved assessment in the state, and this replaced our ISIP screener, which was an iStation screener. So for K through 2 reading and math, it provides us assessment and a data platform. It provides us student present performance levels and comparison data with district norms, provides data-driven interventions individualized to student-specific needs. And the Amplify Reading K through 5 also replaced iStation programming and provides data-driven interventions. And I'll say the big difference here is that we're seeing, again, it's new, they're learning it, but already we're seeing great increase of aligned interventions that directly relate to that assessment data and what the assessment data is telling us about where the gaps are in individual student progress. And they get reports, and our principals will be sharing some of these with you, and we'll also be sharing with you some of these report formats when we do this in Friday Facts. I'm going to be providing that for you in our monthly Friday Facts for you as well. So they really do like the platform that M-Class and Amplify Reading provide to them. Then Do the Math is a Tier 3 foundational skill reinforcement intervention for math. And this is something, again, it was something we had decided to do prior to COVID, and we are so happy that we have this. We are seeing lots of gaps in math, and so as our kids come to us, this helps us with skill reinforcement. It's very targeted, very individualized, and we're seeing a lot of growth with the use of our Do the Math intervention in elementary. And then, of course, our next steps in guided reading assessment, our NSGRA. That is our assessment that provides beginning, middle, and end of year reading level information, and we've been using that now for 5 years. And we're excited that we're finishing our middle of year data for NSGRA now. We did beginning of year when we started school this year, and we always get excited when we do middle of year because we like to track that growth and see how much our students have grown in their reading levels since the beginning of the school year, and we're anticipating growth. And we're excited about that because the kids are even starting to track their own progress, and they're very encouraged by their own progress as well. Continuing with elementary resources and interventions, Scholastic Coaching, which we've had in the district. Every year we shifted a little bit. Our goal is that we're building capacity with our scholastic work. But we keep adding lots of new teachers who we find still need a lot of coaching in guided reading and our comprehensive literacy approaches. But this year, our Scholastic Coaching, they're focusing mostly on helping our ICs and helping them with groups of teachers and to know how to coach really good reading strategies in the classrooms. So again, with guided reading, they also coach our use of our Fountas and Pinnell adopted literacy materials. We had a new reading adoption right before is when COVID hit, and we had the our reading adoption materials delivered to the district. Once they got here, that was in about October before all of it even got delivered because they were under such demand across the nation. And then, lo and behold, we had COVID hit. So our teachers, it was very, very difficult for them to learn a new adoption. So they've been learning, we've been working with them, but we use our Scholastic coaches along with our instructional coaches and our CNI team as well to help them learn exactly what to do to implement those resources well. And they're amazing, they really are. The Reading Academies, which you may remember us talking about this as a requirement from TEA for all of our K-3 teachers, also instructional coaches, and all campus administrators have to receive training in the Reading Academies. So we have hired, being the district that we are, our size, we had to hire 2 people to carry this out in our district, and so they're a part of our CNI team. They're doing an amazing job with this. We have some of the virtual sessions, and we have in-person sessions. It just depends on which ones the teachers wanted to participate in and really determining what they needed. So our 2 coaches are on campuses, also doing virtual coaching with them. It is a full-time job, but the learning that they are receiving from the modules that they're engaged in, we're seeing so many ahas and so much application. Our ICs were the first group to start it, and we're starting to see some of them finishing up and sharing about that because they're very excited that they finished their Reading Academy work, and it's taken them a little over a year to do that. So it's very intensive training, and they have to do it during the school year. And so this is what you'll remember. We did choose to provide stipends to our people who are in our Reading Academies as a district, and so that's another support that you all provided to them, and they are so appreciative of that. Principals are moving forward with their Reading Academy trainings now, and we have our first groups of teachers in K-3. So for teachers to continue to teach, as Dr. Gomez will say, for teachers to continue to teach in these grade levels, this is a requirement. They have to have completed Reading Academies. In the future, our universities will be preparing our future teachers through the university program that they will take on in elementary education. Math Solutions, we're continuing with Math Solutions through IC coaching and professional learning of best practice sessions for teachers. That's going very well. Education Galaxy is a supplemental instructional resource for all content areas. Our campuses have really liked this resource, and it gives them some great data across all content areas. And STEM Scopes is a supplemental math and science resource for Tier 1 universal instruction, also provides some great interventions. So we have some amazing resources utilized, and I will say this list is it's much narrower than it used to be 6 years ago, where we could fill pages and pages of these. So we have really worked hard to align our resources to make sure that they are targeted, that they are research proven, and that we follow up with usage, that we are expecting the usage on our campuses, and that we follow up to find out how we can continue to support them in their learning and in their training and in implementation. And we look at the data to really determine how we're using them, how well we're using them, and what we need to help continue to coach our folks in on the campus level. Our district support, the next page. These are just some of the things that we are doing at the district level. And again, this year has been a really great year, a very busy year, because we are starting back with some of the practices we were doing prior to COVID that we were not able to do since before COVID. So really, you're talking about 2 school years that were impacted that way. We did data digs at the beginning of the school year at the service center to assist campuses with awareness and goal setting. That was very helpful, and it was a half day for each group. Elementary did a half day, secondary did a half day. They looked at all of their data from STAR testing, and they looked at individual groups of students and then are using that as a piece of data to help them determine, along with their beginning of year data, what it is that they need to be targeting on their campus and really paying attention to. We started back with our district learning walks, which is this team here, our cabinet team, going to campuses along with our directors, our C&I directors, and doing learning walks. We're really trying to find those best practice exemplars also in the classrooms of them using these resources and the practices that they're following to highlight that evidence and affirm when we see the really great things happening, we're really wanting to affirm that. And I'll say also something that has stood out with that is the student products. We're seeing some amazing student products reflective of our learner profile in our schools, and that's very encouraging. We started our principal evidence reviews. We have had that group, our first group today, and we are having our principals come in, visit with our cabinet team, and they're doing it through the format of point with pride, view with concern, and look forward with hope. What are the things that you point with pride? Are you seeing are really good highlights for your campus? What are some things that you're viewing with concern? And then looking forward with hope, what is it that you're planning to do about this? What are you doing about it right now on your campus? Again, with the resources that we have here, they're talking about how they're utilizing these resources to really put into practice how to support student learning and student benefit and progress on the campus level. So those have gone very, very well. Our principal board presentations that start in January, they will be coming here and presenting, I think 3 at a time, starting in January to all of you. And again, you will be hearing some of those same things, and we're helping them to prepare for those. As part of that, it's supposed to be a reflection of what are the things that they see that they're doing well, and then what are they concerned about, and what are they doing with their resources and how to address student needs on their campuses. We have a middle of year data review at the end of January. Our 9-week professional learning community PLC design days, and I'll say all these 3 here kind of go together, and our goal setting for every campus using the middle of year data for student goal setting. January 3rd is the day that we come back that our teachers have one of those PLC design days built into their contract, into their days. On that day, and we've had them at every 9 weeks, prior to the beginning of the 9 weeks, so that they're using that data to look at student data and design forward what they're going to do to respond to students. This one's a really important one because in January, they are going to look at their data, make plans for any adjustments that they need to make in student groupings, interventions. I'm really planning for the success of these students because student progress between January and when we have spring testing is very important. We want to show that student progress. Again, we won't have middle of year map data until later in January, but once we have that, we do intensive work with them and supporting them through campus visits and support from the C&I team as well as this team. And we go in and help them to look exactly, every student, it's prescriptive. What is it that we need to do and how are we progressing? Principal Instructional Coach Professional Learning, we continue to have every month, focusing on data awareness and design for campus implementation. So, for instance, we have one this Wednesday for both of those groups. We are looking at what you're looking at right here. We're reviewing all of our resources with them. We're looking at data, and we're helping them make plans for that January 3rd day that they're going to have teachers back on their campuses for their PLC design work. And lastly, our last page here of district support, some of the other things that we're focusing on. With our community-based accountability pillars of student benefit, our CBAS Advisory Council, we had our first CBAS Advisory Council about 3 weeks ago. Very successful, and the format for that is we did rotations. We're going to continue to do that again. We'll have another one of those in January. Campus and department storyboards to reflect points of pride. I know that the people that came to our advisory council, and we had about 100 people, and they provided us some amazing feedback for things we can be doing and feedback for the campuses as well. Also students, we had students there, and they were excited to be a part of it as well. Student voice we find to be very important in our district, and that's something that we are encouraging and really wanting to see more of at all levels. Our CNI team and the campus supervisor, we often visit with campus leaders to review data, resource usage, and support for all initiatives. Our curriculum and instruction team walks with consultants even on the campuses and attend debriefings after every district session. We do debriefings with Scholastic, Math Solutions, Emergent Tree, all of those that we work with. Engage to Learn is a group providing coaching for our campus principals and district administrators, and that has been very successful as well. We heard that today in our meetings with our principals, that they were very appreciative of that time. It's helping them ask some really good questions about what their practice needs to be a great instructional leader on the campus, and what are some of the expectations they should have of teachers on their campus, and what you do for follow-up. Our digital innovation support team, I can't say enough about these guys. Jennifer Feck and Brandon Lagon are on campuses every single day, providing support, just pushing that innovation forward. It's done so much to really provide just great examples of our learner profile across the district. With our Z-Space iPad implementation, they are the two that are supporting the iPad implementation at all levels. The STEM labs, or you'll hear STEAM labs, some of them incorporate art into those as well, at all of our elementaries, and those are going strongly. And then we have our new cybersecurity partnership with Angelo State University that they are helping with as well, and that is exciting. We have teams, we have students using the cybersecurity materials provided to us through the grant that we have with ASU, as well as some cybersecurity cyber guardian teams, they are called, at middle school and high school. So that will be exciting because they participate in competitions. Then, of course, our supportive partnership for dual credit programs with Angelo State University and Howard College. We have really expanded this year our dual credit offerings at Lakeview High School in particular, and that is a very that's really encouraging to get there and go see our students who are having these opportunities to participate in dual credit courses taught by Angelo State University professors on the campus, and we're seeing a lot of success with that. And lastly, our STAR-based science instruction with Goodfellow Air Force Base. We still have our 5th graders going with the Department of Defense grant, and they are going to Goodfellow Air Force Base once a year to participate in STAR-based, and that is some excellent STEM instruction also. And they really, really like that. So they got to start that again this year. So I'll end with these two. You'll remember this as our elevator speech with our work for community-based accountability. SAISD believes the time is now to fully value the hopes and dreams of each child, to remove whatever barriers exist in obtaining them, and to never again allow a child to be treated as a test score. We will be accountable for each child's future by honoring his or her strengths and supporting his or her needs while improving the system that empowers him or her. We feel that's really what we are doing through all of this work. And our moral imperative, if we believe the mission of SAISD is to engage all students in a relevant and inspiring education that produces future-ready graduates, we will provide and support instructional resources and interventions that empower students to develop as creators, collaborators, communicators, and critical thinkers, which is our learner profile. So we appreciate your support so very much. None of this would be possible without it. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I know that's a lot, but please feel free if you have questions. That's why I gave you a hard copy. You're welcome to let me know. This will be an ongoing thing that we present from here on, and so this will be part of our academic report for the rest of the school year. Are there any questions at this time?
See if I'm mic'd up there. Well, thank you, Dr. Ritter. You and your CNI team, curriculum and instruction team, as well as our leadership team, I just can't thank you enough for the work you're doing and for creating and implementing this roadmap. For a little context, this roadmap was developed that you've just heard this evening in concert with our Board of Trustees by those guiding expectations that our board has and the guiding questions that our board has about, let's look at student evidence. What is the data before us, and what decisions are we making to help students be successful in all of their endeavors, academically and extracurricular? So our board takes great pride in putting resources where the need is. And so part of all the information you've heard tonight is it allows our Board of Trustees to implement initiatives and put the resources where the needs are to ensure academic success for our kids. I think you've heard it's so interesting to me, the Schoology, the learning management system. You couple that with the smart devices, the iPads, and I think we've all learned last year dealing with water and weather. We had 2 weeks where it was just critical that we had a learning management system in place. I think traveling in West Texas also is very helpful to have a learning management system where kids, our own kids, so many of us in this room have had our own students and our own family members go through our SAISD school system. So it's just critical to have our kids be able to access work from their teachers when they're traveling or in inclement conditions such as weather and water. So that really paid off last year for those things that may be out of our control. Also, I want to highlight that our board's expectations are also based on kind of the refinement of goals. We had a posted workshop last Monday evening on how we can kind of refine our board learning goals for our school district and system, and we are continuing in that work. And in January, those objectives, action steps, and the finalization of our board goals will be provided to our Board of Trustees for review and then final implementation as we work through that. So these are all in concert together, and I just appreciate our staff working to meet the needs of our students. You know, in the last 48 hours, I've heard from the banking industry, I've heard from the health industry, and you look at in educational circles, there's almost a 2-year lag with the COVID environment that we are facing, and it's hitting all industries and all arenas across Texas, our nation, and even globally. So I think it's kind of the great reset. So what are we doing to meet the needs of kids where they are and making certain that they progress forward? And so I feel comfortable with all these initiatives. These are also based on 6 years ago, as Dr. Ritter will inform you as well that earlier, this is based on a curriculum audit we had. So, we want those highly researched practices that are proven good for kids. There's a lot of fancy names that you heard in this. It may be Solution Tree, it may be Emergent Tree, it may be all these different initiatives. What it boils down to is we want to look at best practices nationwide. So regardless of the name, it's how do we read better, how do we write better, how do we do math better, and how can we be innovative in a digital marketplace now to make sure that our kids have that innovation as creators, collaborators, communicators, and critical thinkers to survive in a global marketplace. So it's all of these things in concert together that we are pushing forward, and we are doing that academically and to make sure that kids have their emotional and that safety and security met too as they go to school. So I just thank you for our Board of Trustees that are guiding and expecting great work from our district and our leadership team and our C&I department for putting the wheels on the ground to make this happen for kids. And I'll turn it over to our board for additional comments or questions.
I may not work. It sounds like I am. Jen, I had a couple of questions. One about parent access to any of these programs. So it looks to me like in the Student Success Platform in Panorama, there's individualized student plans. Are parents involved in that process? And also M-Class, it talks about individualized student-specific needs. So I know in ARD programs and things like that, historically we've had parents involved in developing improvement plans for their students. I'm wondering what role parents play in those programs.
Yes, absolutely. The parent partnership is very important, and they are involved as we use the data from, say, MClass and MAP, NSGRA with the reading levels. All of these components of data are pulled together, and they live in the platform for the teachers and the administrators to utilize as a dashboard. And then within that, we have, if you will remember this summer when HB 45 passed and said that every student who failed math or reading STAR had to have an individualized learning plan developed with interventions that were specific to their needs. So that happened in July. We have it going, and it's rolling, and it's moving. Parents are involved in those conversations and in that partnership. So that our database, the student support platform, is really where it lives. The parents are involved in those meetings, or whether it's a Zoom meeting or in-person meeting, and we update those. They update them at least every 9 weeks with their progress, whatever progress measures they have. And it's not just waiting for those big assessments. They also take anecdotal notes in there, the teachers do. They measure their progress just with classroom assessments and common assessments across grade levels, on their campuses, and in their professional learning community. So it's really helped to have this place where it lives in one place, and we have it for all K through 12, which is really the first time we've had some kind of portal where all of it can be all together. So parents are involved in that. Plus, I'll say that also provides a way for teachers to have conversations with parents on an everyday basis, because every student is represented in this framework, in the platform. And so now parent conferences, just whenever a parent has a question, they can call, they can meet with the teacher can share information from all of this with them. But it should be a regular part of communication that they're having with parents as they go. We'll really see a lot more of it even when we have our middle of year data completed for MAP, I will say. In elementaries, your parents will be hearing more about how their students are doing with their reading levels also, because those are targeted plans that have to be put in place so that we can continue to track the progress and determine what we need to do next to keep that progress moving forward.
Any other questions, board members?
I guess, oh, sorry. Janet, just a quick question. So obviously, I guess the system that we had to change last year after we changed more systems because the state stopped supporting MClass.
Yes.
So we had to switch to MClass.
Yes.
But other than MClass, these are pretty much the things that have been in place for the last 6 years since we streamlined to give resources. So it seems like a lot of resources, but it's actually a more streamlined list and a more tested list than it's ever been before, with attempts by the district to make as few changes as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing new this year for our teachers was our goal. MClass was something we didn't have control over, but they have gone in, and the students are getting in there, and they do their assessments. They're starting to understand more about their reports. The reports are great, and so that's helping them. And our principals, so when we have them in our principal professional learning times, which we'll have again, and our instructional coaches also, we just teach them every time. We say, okay, bring your devices with you. We're going to get in there. We're going to look in the student platform. We want them to get in there and see it so they see exactly what then they go back and make sure they're supporting their teachers with seeing. So some of it's just more streamlined, and it's better assessment. Say that MClass is a better assessment that actually connects it directly to the intervention that they need that's targeted to them specifically. So we see these improvements in our intervention programs and our assessment programs that just help us to improve for best practice as we go, and gives us really timely, excellent information about our kids that we just haven't had in the past.
Sorry, one last question. As far as, obviously we have a bunch of elementary campuses. If we have a third grade level at Goliad using these systems very well, are instructional coaches able to help a third grade class at third grade teachers at Santa Rita see how they're implementing that in their classes to make sure that these systems are being used at the appropriate level for those kids?
Again, it goes back to us. That's why we have those ICs, we have those instructional coaches at every elementary campus. And we have that aligned day, that time with them once a month where we pull them in. Actually, it's more than once a month that we have our instructional coaches with us. But we're really targeted with them and give them hands-on, and they're in their own professional learning community groups. When they come here, they're seated in their groups together, and we train them, work with them. We have them get in, look in their programs, look in that, and then they continue work as professional learning community moving forward. One thing we are going to do in January is have campus visits and they're asking for it. We've had to be a little cautious because we didn't want a lot of people on campuses yet, but we feel like we're ready to move forward with helping to share some more best practice. And when we see it, and we do see it, that they're eager to see some of the great things that are working elsewhere. And so doing some campus visits will be very helpful for them, and they're wanting to see that as well.
One last question, Jana, sorry. I know that the buzzword of the term is achievement gap, and we're trying to, lots of districts are trying to recognize where the achievement gap is. I don't know that we need to recognize where the gap is. We just need to figure out where our students are at and move them forward from that point, regardless of the situation. I'm hoping that's where we're headed with most of these programs.
Yes, excuse me. I'll say again, thank goodness we had already been moving forward with these things prior to COVID, because I can't imagine trying to assess where we are without having these assessment tools in place. The things that we're seeing and what the data is telling us, there are some things that are kind of alarming, but I will say we have the data and we know exactly what standard, we know what issues the child, each individual child has. The challenge is really, what do you do? And we're seeing lower levels than we've seen at grade levels, in the past. So we have second graders in our classrooms who are non-readers and maybe didn't even at the beginning of the school year recognize letters. That's a challenge we really haven't had in second grade before when they've been in school. So we're really having to support our teachers with what to do, how to do it, not to panic. And they're seeing the progress because the kids are picking up on it and they're learning even from each other. So the progress is moving forward, and we're very encouraged by what we see with our students. Our older students, it's a little more difficult, I'll say, I think, in middle school and high school, because so many of our kids, those gaps are there too. It's not just elementary. And so assessing where they are, we have assessments in place. Again, thank goodness we have them. Helping our teachers know what to do. It's just difficult because intervention hasn't been something that campuses have really done. I would say we do that. We've done it in middle schools and we've done it in high schools, but now we have so many more kids that need it. So focusing on what they do, having to do a lot of that work just through the school day, like reassessing how we're going to use our time instructionally through schedules. That's the tricky part in middle school and high school, and how we're going to address, how we're addressing the needs of individual students. We can't just, we're learning, our teachers are seeing too, this is our first year back of kind of a regular school year, and you just can't do things the way we've always done them. So we're just having to adjust and make sure we're using data to drive the decisions and to drive the instruction with those kids.
Thank you. Thank you for this very comprehensive report. I think in my years on the board, this may be the first time we've gone through it all like this. So I appreciate you putting all this together and bringing us this information. And we look forward to the visits with all our principals starting in January. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Dr. Detloff, is there anything with our partnership with Goodfellow?
Yes, sir. Just a brief comment. I'll just connect to Dr. Ritter's I think one item about our star base for fifth graders, and just to reiterate that we continue to have an incredible partnership with Goodfellow Air Force Base. Teresa Goodwin, our school liaison, has worked I mean, side by side, shoulder to shoulder with us the last 3 or 4 months in developing goals that will also positively, academic goals that also positively impact the over 800 military-connected families that we have in SCISD. So we also have on the docket some additional meetings with Teresa this spring semester, and she's involved in some of our board goal work as well. So we're excited about that partnership and continue to thank Goodfellow Air Force Base and our military men and women for their service.
Thank you, Dr. Dutloff, and thank you, Teresa. You know, we appreciate you being at all our meetings. Sometimes you don't get on camera, but we know you're there, and we appreciate all you do. All right, we'll continue on with our agenda. Our next is our consent items. We have consent items A through G. A is consider donations. B, consider approval of quarterly investment report ending November 30th, 2021. C, consider election of candidates to serve on the Board of Directors of Tom Green County Appraisal District for the 2022-2023 term. D, consider bid number 21-025 dual purpose paper. E, consider grade 7 reading instrument waiver. F, consider TASB Board Policy Update 118, and G, consider Superintendent's recommendations for personnel for school year 2021-2022. And we have, I see at least 4 contract recommendations that we have that have been placed on our desk here. All of these items were discussed last week and put on our this list of consent items. Do I hear a motion to approve consent items A through G?
Move to approve consent items A through G.
Second.
Lupita was really trying.
I second.
All right. Well, we have a motion from Ms. Mizell Flint, almost a second by Lupita, but she was beat out by Mr. Lehman. So, so is there any other board discussion? Is there any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes. All right, next we have consider bills, accounts, and financial statements for October and November 2021. We discussed that last week, but we always like to keep this on the our regular agenda. Is there any other board discussion on this item?
Just as a reminder, Mr. Parker, all of the bills, accounts, and our checkbook are available on our website under financial transparency for the review of the public at any point in time. But as you said, they were gone over in depth for both October and November at our pre-agenda meeting. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve bills, accounts, and financial statements for October and November of 2021.
There's been a motion to approve by Dr. Kingman and a second by Mr. Gallegos. Is there any other board discussion? Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Next, are you there for our proposed amendments?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay,
Parker.
all right. Dr. McFarland, consider proposed amendment for district official budget for general fund.
Yes, the district adopts the budget in August of every year. In accordance with Texas Education Code, Section 44, we adopt at the fund and function level. The 3 funds we adopt with are the general fund, which is what all our school operations happen under, the child nutrition fund, which is where our food service happens, and our debt service fund, where we pay back debt for our bond that was from 2008 that we're still paying off. And so anytime we make an amendment to any one of those funds, which we're asking here in the general fund right now, and you make a movement of monies from one function to another, which are the functions are just general operational areas. The general functions cover areas such as teaching and learning, business services, student support services, maintenance and operational type of things. And anytime you move money from one function to another, like we're asking to do tonight, it requires board approval for that amendment. Tonight's request on a budget amendment is moving monetary funds from one function to another to make sure that there are enough funds to cover the expenses that are coming up in those different functions. However, it's a simple movement of one function to another. Some are gaining, some are contributing to other functions. In totality, at the bottom line, there's a net movement of, or a net result of 0 with the movement of those functions. So there will be no increase in revenue or any increase in expenditures, just simply a movement of funds from one function to the next.
Thank you, Dr. McFarland. Anyone have questions for Dr. McFarland? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move for the approval of the general fund budget amendment for December 13th, 2021 with changes to function codes, but result in no monetary difference.
I second.
Good. Motion by Mr. Dindal and a second by Ms. Arroyo. Is there any other board discussion? Any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. And again, Dr. McFarland, consider proposed amendment for district official budget for child nutrition fund.
So as I just mentioned, the 3 different funds, general fund, child nutrition, debt service. So we just did amendment for general fund. Now we're asking for an amendment to the child nutrition fund. And that's because they are serving more meals than they had originally planned and expected for this year. And as a result of that, they'll be receiving additional federal funds to flow through to help with the producing and serving of those meals, as well as include some extra expenditures that will come along. In this one, will reduce or will result in an increase in revenues of about $1.5 million that they expect to receive now in addition, as well as an increase in expenditures of about $764,000. And so that's the amendment that we're asking for tonight in the Child Nutrition Fund. Any questions I can answer?
Dr. McFarland, we mentioned it earlier at our pre-agenda meeting, but this is basically because of the new free lunch program to most students. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. With the way that all students now are receiving free meals, that has increased the number of meals that the Child Nutrition Department is serving throughout the district. And again, that will result in additional funding from the federal government, as well as additional expenditures that go with serving those extra meals.
Thank you, Dr. McFarland. Any other board discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the district recommendation for a budget amendment for the increase in revenue of $1,552,215.00 and an increase in expenditures of $764,000 on this December 13th.
All right, we have a motion by Dr. Kingman and a second by Mr. Dindal to approve the proposed amendment for district official budget for child nutrition fund. Is there any other board discussion? Any public comment? I'll call it for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Dr. McFarland's up again. Consider architectural services.
Yes, sir. And so what the district has been in charge of doing and looking at here in collaboration with the board and looking forward to the vision for the district is looking forward to a 5 to 10 year plan of district structural and facility management for the district. And one of the things that the district has done from that standpoint is seek professional services from architectural companies. Professional services are defined in board policy, or board policy defines professional services and includes architectural services, and that's important because the Professional Services Procurement Act requires that you not consider competitive bidding in consideration of professional services for your district, but rather you consider the basis of qualifications that those entities show. And so what the district did on that behalf was we put out a request for qualification throughout the state for architectural services to be rendered based on some amounts and possibilities that we were looking at for long-term planning for the district. And we had a number of architectural services architectural firms reply back to that request for qualifications. There was a committee here in the district that rated those different organizations, and we came up with 6 of them that we decided that we wanted to pull in to interview with our cabinet members, with several of our cabinet members, as well as some board members. And so we pulled in 6 different architectural firms that responded to that request for qualifications, and had them present to us their plans and processes on how they could help the district in its 5 to 10 year planning process. And at the end of that process, when we ranked those different firms, the firm of Park Hill, Smith & Cooper came out on top as the recommendation that we're bringing forward tonight. And what we're asking for in tonight's administrative action is to ask that the board allow the district administration to negotiate with Park Hill, Smith & Cooper for architectural services, and also understanding that that being a reasonable market price is likely going to be above the $25,000 threshold, which is the limit that the board provides to the superintendent to allow for purchases of that amount. Any questions I can answer?
I know we discussed this last week. Any other questions, board team? If not, anyone want to make a motion?
I will move to approve the district administration to negotiate a fair market price to perform architectural services for the district and approve that negotiation to exceed the $25,000 board approval threshold if needed. And I know that a representative from Park Hill, Smith & Cooper is here this evening too.
Yes, he is, and I was going to introduce that. We have Ty Cisco, who is joining us. He's part of that team with Park Hill, Smith & Cooper that did a tremendous job presenting to our cabinet team as well as board members on the services and the things that they could provide for our district in that process. Ty, would you like to say anything? Or?
Why don't you come forward, sir? Just come up.
Ty is one of the members. This architectural firm is out of Lubbock, but Ty actually resides here in San Angelo, so he's a local person for us.
I'd just like to say thank you to the board and selection committee for the opportunity, and we're really looking forward to it and see lots of opportunities within the district to improve the learning environment. So we're excited.
Tell us this, Mr. Cisco. I know we had a couple of members of our board that participated in interviews, and they've told me that you have some local connections, as Dr. McFarland just said, but what are your local connections with San Angelo?
I grew up in Water Valley, so not far, but lived in the area my whole life. Just have a lot of family here, so just feel like San Angeloan.
And where do you live now? Where are your offices?
I live in San Angelo, remotely out of Mid.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Sorry you had to
opportunity.
wait this late, but we appreciate you.
You're fine.
All right. All right, we've had a motion by Mr. Dindal, but I don't think there was a second, so I'll second that motion. So with the motion by Mr. Dindal, second by me, is there any other board discussion? Any public comment? And all in favor of this agenda item, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty.
All right. Now Greg McIntyre gets to come forward, and we're going to consider the 2022-2023 district calendar. But Mr. McIntyre, you're not, we haven't had you come forward too often, but tell us what your title is.
My title is Deputy Superintendent
All right,
for
good.
San Angelo ISD.
Well, thank you, sir.
I wasn't expecting that question. Thank you.
Well, I should have emailed you to get you prepared for it.
Well, this evening, we get to consider the school calendar for 22-23, and I thought I would just take a few moments, just a couple of slides, to really go over what some of the considerations are in developing a school calendar. Certainly, there's the required number of minutes as set forth by the state. You know, a few years ago, that requirement was changed. It used to be a certain number of days for each school year, and then it was changed to a certain number of minutes, a minimum of 75,600 minutes. Something else to consider are the number of days in each grading period and in each semester. We like to have final exams before winter break. That's one of our bullets there. Also, ongoing professional development. Professional development referred to in an earlier presentation around PLCs and the important conversations that take place on behalf of our students, to take a look at our teaching and learning. And it's nice to have that in an ongoing conversation throughout the school year. And typically that's reflected in the early release and professional development days that we have throughout the school year. Also, we like to finish prior to June so that we can schedule the high school graduations. And so whenever you take a look at the required number of minutes, the number of days in each semester, final exams before winter break, ongoing professional development, and finishing by a certain deadline, you can see that there's a lot of competing interests and things and features that have to be built in to the calendar. I would say that in visiting with a number of school principals and also central office staff, there were a couple of items, a couple of features that people just think are absolute gold. One of those happens to be our kids starting on a Wednesday, starting midweek, so that as they come back from summer and we're starting off the school year, it really helps to start off on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the next week come back for a full week of learning. And then secondly, those early release days, being able to fit those in throughout the school year and to place them at times when we can have those conversations and reflect on teaching and learning. A few other considerations are certainly the traditional days that we've taken throughout the school year. Those being things such as Labor Day, Columbus Day, Thanksgiving week. We haven't always been able to say that. Thanksgiving week, a 2-week winter break, spring break, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Good Friday, and Memorial Day. So the calendar that's up for consideration tonight very closely mirrors this year's school calendar. It's a calendar that's been developed over a number of years, and there's a high satisfaction level with the current school calendar. There is one minor change that we made, and that was the December early release day has been moved to 1 week later so that those campuses that want to take part in the Christmas at Old Fort Concho, if they want to take part in that, they certainly can. And so by moving that 1 week, that early release day 1 week later, that provides that option there for campuses if they so choose to take part in that. And with that, take any questions or comments.
Let me just go through this and make sure I've got the right days, but maybe those that are listening can make note of this. But we will start school on August 17th, which is a Wednesday. And then Thanksgiving week will be the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. Students will be out all week. Christmas early release on the 16th, and then out 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, then the week of 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. And then we'll also be off Monday the 2nd, January 2nd, and come back to school January the 3rd, 2023. And then spring break, or at least that's what I used to call it, is in March 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. And then school is out on May 26th, and graduation is May 27th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any other, well, I'll just do this, then we'll have other board discussion. But I will make the motion that we approve administration's recommendations for the calendar for the 2023 SAISD district calendar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lehman. Now, is there any other board discussion? I didn't mean to cut anybody off. And is there any public comment on this? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, with that, our agenda items are all approved. We are going to go, I'm going to give the announcements, then we're going to go into executive session quickly, but our announcements are, we have our PACE graduation December 16th at McNeese Convention Center at 6 p.m., and I think Ms. Mizell Flint and Mr. Dendel are both said that y'all can be available. Yes, they can. I'm sure they can. And then January 10th, 2022, we have our Finance Pre-Agenda Workshop. January 18th, 2022, the City Council has asked us to come to their meeting at 8:30 a.m. in the McNeese Convention Center for School Board recognition. And then we have our meeting on that evening, which is a Tuesday, January 18th, our regular board meeting. And with that, we will go into executive session under the Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters. Our meeting is adjourned for until we come out of executive session. Right, we're back from executive session. We took no votes, we took no action, and with that, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for being here.